What should I know about Veritasium?
It was under the blood moon. I felt my heart come. I held you in this strange light, a place where shadows.
So basically, I'm looking to tie the entire world through Veritasium. Testing 1 2 1 2. We have Tom Vays.
Hey guys.
You know, I saw this. You did this Bitcoin speech. You went through like the history of Bitcoin, and
Yeah, it was
pretty
ago.
good. Yeah.
I think it was in San Diego or something like that,
I can't remember.
or New York.
Yeah, it was. I just saw like the video. It was pretty good. So we were going to do a YouTube live, which we still may, but just in case, seldom do I get out and have such intellectual firepower next to me. So we're going to have a conversation. We even have a lawyer here.
I'll
be there in a minute.
So, you know, Vay, here, you can hold it.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. And it's recording. And
Right.
I hear you had a couple of questions about
We did.
the DeFi patent.
So you got granted a couple of patents, Japan and US,
Japan and US, yes.
for DeFi transactions. So I'm very curious how that's going to apply in the world of crypto, and it was pre-Ethereum, so it's possible that every single transaction on top of Ethereum may violate your patent.
So it's for something a little extra than is in addition to DeFi. It's basically peer-to-peer transactions, peer-to-peer conditional transactions of value. So to break that down, the way the patent works in general, oversimplification, you send value to somebody else.
To me.
To you. If you both have a private key, as mentioned, keep here. This is Jason Seibert. He's Seibert. I'm sorry. My name is Reggie Middleton. So it happens. It happens. Okay. He's actually one of the earliest crypto attorneys that I know of. One of the earliest, going way back. You introduced Tom Vays. Okay. And crypto analyst is what you call yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. So
you and I go back a while.
Go
back to 2014
Actually,
days.
he sold me my first Bitcoin in I think maybe December, January 2014. Yeah. So Tone sends value, make it a Bitcoin or ETH or some other value, to Jason. Contingent. If he just sends a Bitcoin, it has nothing to do with the patent.
Perfectly fine.
If he sends it contingent, right, to another value or a data source or something else.
A derivative.
A derivative. It could be something such as a letter of credit, a shipping manifest. It doesn't really matter what that information or condition is, then possibly it falls under the purview of the patent.
But does it affect Bitcoin transactions, peer-to-peer?
What
only options or derivatives of Bitcoin transactions in the future are contingent upon some third-party oracle's decision of what some value is.
So what about the CME futures?
Are the CME futures done on-chain or off-chain?
Off-chain.
Off-chain, almost guaranteed, but I have to take a look at it. But you have to understand, think of a swap. Basically, if it's a swap and you're using a private key, it's involved. What's the most popular swap application on Bitcoin right now?
On Bitcoin, most popular swap?
Yeah.
Lightning Network?
Lightning Network. Lightning Network is the exact replica of our first Bitcoin application, a big BTC swap from 2013, 2014. You probably even tested it yourself. Remember the Bitcoin Center?
Yeah.
I had everybody doing trades. That's it. It's not just Bitcoin. Ethereum. Now, I am not an attorney such as vous or toi, okay, and I'm not an expert.
Did you just call me a twat?
Toi, T-O-I. That's my horrible French, right? And I'm not a smart analyst such as Tony. I'm just a dad. I'm not that bright. But according to my layman's expertise, the Ethereum network at a protocol level infringes on the patent. Okay? I'm not going to get into ins and outs, okay, but that's my belief. That means anybody who uses the Ethereum network for commercial gain infringes, as I understand it in my layman's term. Okay.
Well, let's drill into some more common uses of DeFi protocols or DeFi smart contracts within traditional, or what is now over the last couple of years, what you would call a traditional DeFi smart contract. Okay. So let's take a DAO that is promising that certain liquidity functions within those smart contracts that they're operating on will leverage liquidity pools and derivatives upon that in order to maximize or execute.
Hold for 1 second, I'll hold that thought.
Where were we?
You were talking about traditional or more traditional concepts of DeFi, a DAO.
Okay, so where I want to start with is that where most people understand, or in layman's terms for folks that aren't crypto curious or crypto knowledgeable, when they think about a swap contract, they think about the subprime market crisis and the use of swaps contracts against fractionalized real estate in order to leverage or insure against defaulting of subprime mortgage.
That doesn't sound like a layman's explanation, but go ahead.
Right. So when you're talking about swaps contracts, they're regulated by the International Swaps and Derivatives Association. You have ISDA that creates master contracts, swap contracts, those types of things. And when we're talking about swapping cryptocurrency exposure, right, you have a positive and negative side of a bet, right? It's going to succeed or it's not, right? You're short, you're long, those types of concepts. How does your patent with cryptocurrency implementation or procedure in those implementations affect those types of same transactions but in a blockchain?
Well, I don't know what you mean by effect, but it covers those transactions would infringe upon the patent, given jurisdictional error. So if it's in the U.S., if it's in Japan, if you use a U.S. server, etc., that type of transaction is explained in the claims with precision. Okay. I don't want to discuss how to get around that because that wouldn't work in my best interest. But for the most part, for it to be done in an advanced level, it's going to be very difficult to avoid that.
All right. So let's say I hold a 3-week short option on Bitcoin.
Okay.
Is that covered under your patent?
If you're doing it, it's an on-chain transaction, yes.
So the whole concept of atomic swaps is a problem.
How?
Well, for them, because of your patent.
See, that's not true. I came down here, A, because it's cold in New York, but B, to try and get a feel for licensure deals. Right. I want to make, deals. Let's do business. You can license the IP. I can give you ideas. I'm actually pretty good at this, believe it or not, the finance thing.
You might have been doing it for a while.
Yeah, for a minute or two. And then everybody who 9 out of the 10 people or entities I talked to were defensive and aggressive. Just a massive losing streak.
Everybody? David Silver.
David Silver, okay.
I'm in winning streak. I'm winning.
That's funny. That was funny. Yeah. Well, you're on a video, so if you don't mind being on a video, introduce yourself and you can mark it.
David Silver, Silver Miller. I love everybody here.
Can I get a copy of that later? I'll put it on my channel because I didn't get the live stream.
But what I'm thinking is let's do a quick summation and then we can go live on your show and do the podcast.
Oh, no, we got poker starting in 15 minutes.
So here we go through it. Everybody.
I'm just gonna get this. I'm gonna get the video and I'm gonna upload it.
Okay, everybody get a copy. So to address what you were saying, okay, it's an expense. Here's my analogy. You have a website. I've seen your website. You put it up on AWS. Okay? Do you pay AWS a fee to use their service?
Yes.
Does AWS put you out of business?
If they wanted to, they could.
But have they?
No.
Do you find Amazon to be a problem?
No.
Do you pay the monthly service?
$20 a month.
Okay. Those servers, is that your property or Amazon's property? The actual
Their
server?
property.
That's it. It's not a problem. Now, what happens if you don't pay them?
They turn it off.
Why?
Because it's theirs.
That's it. That's intellectual property in its essence.
Do you understand how to
that's
talk
not a
simply
big
to
threat.
people?
Yeah.
This is how you simply explain something.
So
you should learn.
Hold on.
Your version earlier was a little different, but that's it. I don't want to go there. So.
What I want to say for the record is that's the first time Reggie has used normal human language to explain something in his life. Because if you watch any of Reggie's old films about explaining what his technology does, not a single goddamn person on the planet can understand.
It's the audience that I'm addressing.
Wait, Reggie, you should know this. My 9-year-old has one of your gold things.
Yes, the
in his room.
Veritasium.
The Veritasium.
I have a few of those, also coin.
Yes,
I have
he
a whole
literally
bunch of
has
coins.
that in his room. He
You wanna have
thinks
new
that's
ones?
a Bitcoin.
Yeah, I got some new
I have a
ones. that
collection. I
you
have
can
3
buy.
different ones from you,
Yeah.
man.
So you got the new one yet?
No.
Okay. I know you have it.
I don't have one.
Okay.
I'll take another one. My kids love
So
it.
now I'm out of them. So I had 3. That's 3.
I think
My
I
kids think this is an actual Bitcoin.
Yes.
You know, if you were cute, about 5'7", shape,
I'm
that
gonna
would
take
be
a
10
picture
karat
right now.
gold.
I'm gonna send it to you.
But it's brass alloy for the rest of you dudes. So.
So, anyway, for those of you that are watching this video, the key information you need to take away from this is that before the launch of Ethereum, before the launch of any of the DeFi products, before any of these derivative options and trading and things that have come out of the Bitcoin network and within cryptocurrency over the last couple of years, Reggie Middleton filed for patents covering those types of transactions and was granted patent protection on those in the United States and Japan just recently, although his filing applications predate all of those things. He was finally awarded those things. And as a result, congratulations, Reggie, for
thank
being
you.
recognized for your innovation.
Well, I'm not recognized
And your
quite yet,
ideas,
so.
your ideas were adopted, your ideas that you talked about and were prolific about in talking about what you wanted to do with blockchain, what this technology could do has been adopted and people are doing it, and it's nice that you're going to be recognized or finally have a chance to be recognized for your efforts and your contributions into the space for providing liquidity options, various financing, funding opportunities within the space. So thank you for doing that.
thank you for saying
I'm going to
that.
give you an
Appreciate
applause
that.
once.
Well, we're gonna have a side call. I want to know how this affects Bitcoin. Like, I personally don't care about Ethereum and all the yield farming and Uniswap and PancakeSwap and SushiSwap. I know all of that stuff. Certainly, is gonna violate your patent.
I believe it does.
Right.
It's my opinion.
But what I care about is the Lightning Network and how the money going in and out of the Lightning Network, and also the Bitcoin sidechains. The liquid sidechain and RGB. I don't care about stacks. I don't care about rootstock.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a chat. I'm gonna use you to take a look at the liquid sidechain paper from 2014 or 15.
The paper's irrelevant. Okay, it's
Uh,
what they're doing.
no,
Right,
so you
it's
know how
what
it
they're
functions.
doing.
You know how it functions.
No, you don't know how to function when you look at the paper. You know how to function when you look at the code that's
Correct.
employed.
Correct.
Well, unlike the other white papers in the space, this one actually does what the paper actually says.
The problem
There's
is,
a big
I
difference.
can't go to a judge and say that. So
Right.
if I'm in front of a judge, where's the evidence? I'll pull up the actual
So-
code, and you compare the
Right.
code to the
Well,
claim.
the code's open source.
Right.
So we will have a chat because I'm very curious if it affects the liquid sidechain, which I see as the destruction of Ethereum. And all of those tokens, NFTs, smart contracts, it's all moving on, or going to move on top of the liquid sidechain, which uses Bitcoin to peg into it. So the liquid sidechain works like a casino does.
Yeah.
You walk into a
Yeah.
casino,
Let the camera see
you
your
walk
face.
into the casino, you don't bet dollars, right? You give them the dollars, they give you tokens, the casino chips, that are pegged to the dollars.
Right.
So there's no currency speculation. While you're in the casino, you're using the chips. When you're done, you walk out, you convert them back into dollars. That's the liquid sidechain. You peg your Bitcoin in, you get liquid Bitcoin equal to the Bitcoin, same value. You use the liquid Bitcoin for transaction fees inside the liquid sidechain, and when you're ready to leave the liquid sidechain, you convert them back into Bitcoin on the way out. The beauty of the liquid sidechain is all the transactions inside the liquid sidechain are Monero-style privacy. Complete privacy, and the entire liquid sidechain is almost like one giant mixer. So it's like your Bitcoin goes in, it joins a pool of thousands of Bitcoins. And then you come out, you get random Bitcoins out of that pool when you come out.
Tone, it sounds like what they used to do in tumbling back in the day.
Right, but this is a necessary function for
sounds
the
like-
liquid sidechain to function.
Sounds
like a regulatory.
Sounds
target.
like
But it's
specific
all-
obfuscation of
That's what it sounds like
transactions
to
in
me.
order to launder
not-
money.
Well,
It may not infringe on your patent, but it sounds like money laundering.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
To interject,
But
I
again,
don't.
how's it different than a casino?
Yeah, well, casinos are licensed by the state and federal government. That's one difference.
Yeah,
but-
that-
Well, the liquid sidechain is decentralized, so you just can't.
Oh, okay. Come here. You know, I like to. Are you a Bitcoin maximalist, though?
Of course.
Okay, so number one, I don't think they could do all that and avoid infringing the patent. That's a lot. The patent is actually pretty broad. I was very early. I was either very lucky or had some very smart people helping me
Well,
out.
Reggie, just for clarification, you were doing smart contracting and wrapping assets on the
Bitcoin
Bitcoin
blockchain.
blockchain before Ethereum was even launched,
Way
correct?
before, about a year and a half before. Yeah.
Right. So the concept that smart contracting or these types of options are necessary to be in smart contracting blockchains is not correct.
It's not,
It was
right.
all able to be done with the Bitcoin blockchain long before any of these other projects came out, right? So
Right.
go ahead and expound on
In
it.
terms of decentralization and distributed systems, the important part to me was the assets. The assets are truly distributed, decentralized. So if you do into a transaction with him, you maintain control of your assets and he maintains control of his until you contract. And then when you contract, if it's in something that's difficult to violate, such as the Bitcoin blockchain, that's what I was looking for. The full, now, he's a Bitcoin maxi. We have these decentralization maxis in the altcoin, shitcoin, Ethereum worlds. Decentralization. It is nonsense. There's nothing that's fully decentralized. There's nothing that's fully centralized. If it was decentralized, you wouldn't have to worry about Gary Gensler. You wouldn't have to worry about me and my patents, right? But anything that's fully decentralized, you couldn't make money off of, by definition. Okay, because everything is fully decentralized. If anybody is profiting, that means value and capital is centralizing somewhere. And when it does, and you're stealing the IP to make that centralized profit, somebody's coming to get you.
Right, it's very hard
And
to
that's gonna be
profit
Reggie.
off the liquid Bitcoin itself because you can't mine them, you can't create new ones.
So
very hard to profit.
I have to look into that. When I asked for taking over Ethereum to the Bitcoin maximalists and to everybody else, Ethereum's lead is not technical. First out the box, number one, first mover advantage. The first mover advantage gave them the network effect. They have more users, they have more developers makes more users, etc. And they're already firmly entrenched into the enterprise. And they have a regulatory advantage. Pretend they don't if you don't want to, but they went after Ripple, they went after me. You know, I can't talk negatively about the SEC, but I do want to say something about
You
them.
want to though.
Right? Yeah, man. I'll discuss something about them without purely hypothetical for right now. But I'm going to do that after this point. But in order to take Ethereum, you have to convince JP Morgan to move the Onyx and JP Morgan coin and all their other activities off of their private Ethereum derivative network onto Bitcoin. That ain't happening.
Yeah, it's happening. Technologically, Ethereum can't scale. So it will
Technologically
happen.
is not why JP Morgan is using Ethereum.
Correct.
See, you're thinking code, they're not thinking code. Okay, you have to take a step back and look at it from a real world perspective. Okay? There's a lot we could go on. If you want, we could go back and forth. But to think about the patent, I went to the North American Bitcoin Conference. Nobody wants me to speak. I've been blacklisted since the SEC thing. And I'm sitting here looking at the stage. I saw about 11 presentations. 10 out of the 11 of them owe me money. And I am very, 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 I think, benevolent in my approach. I talk to these companies, I say, let's, make a deal. I mention the word patent. They put their hands up, they get tight-fisted and veins pop out of their head. Listen, patents are how you secure intellectual property. There's a house here. You walk out of the house, do you lock your door? The answer is yes, well then you care about your property. Would you let me walk into your house, put my naked, ashy feet up on the table, invite my friends over, rent out rooms in your house, making money off of your house, and then open source your girlfriend? Probably not. Why? Because you consider these things close and personal to you. Your house is your personal property. The crypto community cannot differentiate between property and not property. My property should be open source for everybody to use. Their property is theirs and theirs alone. Personal property, your property, intellectual property are all still property protected under the 14th Amendment. So if you're not going to allow me to move into your house and rent your rooms out, don't expect me to allow you to move into my intellectual property and profit from it for free. Now, I'm not kicking you out. I'm not pulling shotguns on you. I'm not calling the police. I'm simply asking you to pay rent.
So for those that don't know, long before crypto, Reggie was recognized on CNBC, RT, etc. for his investment expertise, for his ability to recognize patterns within markets, for his knowledge about how markets move, how products move, predicted the subprime crisis, did all of these things.
Calculated, but predicted sounds good. Right?
Won multiple investment competitions that were open by taking data and calculating that, and has been celebrated for his knowledge. And then the moment that he said, well, hold on, you're taking my ideas and you're trying to profit off of them in the cryptocurrency space, somehow he became a pariah. Because, wait, you're taking my ideas and profiting off of them. These are my ideas that I registered as my ideas, and somehow the space is saying, yeah, but that doesn't matter, we're just going to make money off of it anyway. And that's been the age-old concept of intellectual property rights and whether or not somebody's ideas should be rewarded. And without intellectual property protections, you do not have companies or individuals willing to go out there and expend their ideas, their knowledge, take risks, do experimentation to develop and continue to advance society in a way to where the wheel gets developed into a stern wheel, gets developed into a locomotive, gets developed into an automobile. The same ideas continue to progress, but they take monumental leaps at certain points in time that transmogrify the way that we do things. And some might say that, well, investments are investments, we've been doing them forever, but when somebody takes that idea, the wheel, and says, I can take a wheel and turn it into a locomotive train, that person is celebrated because the difference between a wagon wheel and a train is so monumental. And in your case, the reason that your patents were granted is that the leap between an investment vehicle and an investment vehicle deployed on the blockchain was considered to be that same kind of monumental leap in recognition that that type of innovation was not open and notorious and obvious to people, and that's where other people profiting off of that, under the law, should be paying you, at least a license fee to be able to use it, or some sort of fee to be able to do that, to take profit off of that property.
Where the fear comes in is if you read the front page of a patent, they give you a nice, pretty gold embossed, folder, and on the front it says the holder of this patent has a right to use exclusively, license, or exclude anybody from this idea. So, if I'm correct in my uneducated, non-legal, non-technical expertise opinion, if the Ethereum network infringes and the Lightning network infringes, most likely, but I have to check, so I'm going possibly the sidechains of Bitcoin and the sidechains of Ethereum, maybe many other blockchains, I could potentially exclude everybody. And they're afraid. But why? Why would I exclude anybody? I'm not anybody's enemy as long as you're not my enemy. I'm going to tell you a real life story, and then I'm going to tell you what happens if I were to exclude two entities, and what happens if I didn't get this patent and somebody else got it. So, I did my ICO on that Ethereum blockchain in 2017. A month or two either before or after, an Israeli company did an ICO. Raised a lot more money, I think like $250 million. That was Bancor. They licensed algorithm from a university professor for pricing assets.
I remember Bancor. They were such a. How come they didn't get freaking? That was such a scam.
Okay, so Bancor came up with this. It is now called automated market making, and there's a guy from Brooklyn, right? We're from New York. There's a guy from Brooklyn. He was like 26 years
We're from
old.
Brooklyn.
Right?
Born in Brooklyn. I'm
Okay,
taking
Brooklyn.
I'm
Oh,
taking
Brooklyn. Okay.
Ocean Parkway.
Oh,
Come on.
oh, right,
Come on,
right,
man. I'm there.
Okay.
But
Cognac,
not
cognac.
from Brooklyn.
Okay, but he acts like it though. This is he
know-
acts like it.
you know why?
Why is that?
Because my grandfather was
From Brooklyn. Okay, that makes sense.
It's in the blood.
It's in the blood. So this 26-year-old says, I like that. He forked. So you go to GitHub, you click a button, you can copy something's called forking. He forked the Bangkok code, got a $100,000 grant from Consensus, also in Brooklyn, Joe Lubin, as I understand it. And then he basically copied Bangkok's code, created Uniswap. Uniswap floundered and then became extremely successful, the most successful DeFi platform on Ethereum at the time. They were so successful, somebody else came up, this guy called Nomi Sushi, I think, and says, I'm going to fork Uniswap. He forked Uniswap, created SushiSwap, raised $20 million of venture capital funding, and took 50% of Uniswap's liquidity. Instant success. Didn't have to do any additional development. It worked out so well, guys who were around the Binance area said, I'm going to go to SushiSwap, I'm going to click that same button, I'm going to fork it. And now we have PancakeSwap. PancakeSwap has the liquidity of Binance, the largest exchange in the world. Now, here's why you should write your own code. All that copying and swapping and copying, do you know what the Bangkok original model, do you know where it infringed? That was my idea. So my idea is in Bangkok, it's in Uniswap, it's in SushiSwap, it's in PancakeSwap, and it's throughout Binance. I believe Coinbase infringes. I believe every major exchange infringes. If the Ethereum network, because I'm not a very smart lawyer or analyst or software developer or engineer, I'm just a dad. If Ethereum infringes at the protocol level,
wearing pants.
right? And if the front of that golden boss patent is true, then I can either request license fees from every exchange who uses Ethereum or the Lightning Network, or I can exclude. So if I were to be somebody like JP Morgan, and they were to get this, they would say, we'll pick one exchange, we'll allow you to use it, you'll pay us a license fee of 51% of your revenues.
Bloomberg's notorious for that. You know that.
Okay.
Bloomberg is the worst at this.
Bloomberg's a very wealthy man, right? So, and I'm not after money, but 51% of the revenues, we will license, we will allow you to participate in the business. Everybody else is excluded from doing this in the United States and Japan, and anywhere else we get a patent. And then they forcibly buy that company, or the company loses licensure. That's what happens if JP Morgan gets it. The North American Bitcoin Conference wouldn't be in existence. If all those guys owed me money and I was JP Morgan, they would shut it down, and that would be the Florida JP Morgan shareholders meeting. So if you're afraid of somebody having a patent, be afraid of somebody like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs buying this or somehow inventing it. I don't feel they can invent it because the culture of big banks won't allow it. You know, they filed several, Bank of America is one of the most prolific patent filers in blockchain in this country, but they file things on how to get stock to settle 5 hours faster than it did the legacy system. They don't think of how to make a better transaction, they think how to make a better banking transaction. Luckily, but you should do business with someone who's willing to do business with you, because it can get a lot worse. When Wall Street comes in, and they're coming in right now, they don't play games, and it will run roughshod through the entire industry. This industry is afraid patents are bad, we're not going to patent, everything's open source code. You are guaranteed to go out of business trying to sell something that you could, competitor could give away for free. It's impossible. Okay, and I'm not knocking on open source code, guys, but you have to understand how business is done in a paradigm shift, because Silicon Valley and Wall Street do not play games. I can guarantee you that the banks will monetize their patents by attacking the fintechs if they can't buy them or if the regulators don't put them out of business.
So Reggie, let me ask you a question. If you were to take your patents, your US issued patents, and take them to, I don't know, any Goldman Sachs, and say, here's my patents, Goldman Sachs, and then Goldman Sachs entered the market, what would happen to the crypto space?
If I were to give them to Goldman Sachs,
Well, sell them, you know.
Well, I wouldn't sell them, but okay, now we're going on.
But what I'm
So
saying
if
is,
the purple
in the
plutonian- so you know-
hypothetical world, if Goldman Sachs had these patents,
Okay.
do all of these entities tremble because now Goldman Sachs is coming after you?
So I'm going to give a more reverse answer because you're bringing in other
It's just a
concepts.
hypothetical.
Okay, hypothetically. Number one, there will be no crypto industry whether Goldman Sachs gets the patents or not. You know, I think people are not using their economic history. So right now, quickly, name an internet company. Quickly.
Google.
I was gonna say Comcast.
Sure.
Comcast. Okay. So he named Google. They named Google. He said Comcast. He's tired. He's so.
Can't do all the pressure. I'm on a losing streak. This is why I'm on a losing streak.
So they say Google. Okay. Google
Google, an internet company.
is not an internet company. Okay.
Comcast is the largest
Comcast,
provider of,
okay.
of internet in the country.
But look at where the confusion is. Everything's an internet company. Name a company that doesn't use the internet at all.
None.
Okay, so saying it's an internet company. Now, go back 25 years.
My garbage company.
Your
does not
garbage
use the
company.
internet.
Bullshit. They use
do
it.
not.
They use
They
the
do
internet
not.
to
I
do
know.
I have
pickups,
to-
better stream.
No, I have
Do
to-
they use a phone? Can you call?
I have to fax shit into them.
I'm
You
standing
do.
by. I'm not standing by
I
my.
still use a
Okay.
fax.
I'm
That's
standing
my,
by my
that's my
Comcast.
proof.
Well, listen, he lives
Right.
in the mountains in Alaska somewhere.
If you have a website advertising for your company, you
use the
utilize
internet.
it.
If you make a phone call over cellular lines, you probably use the internet.
Well, with
voice over
voice
IP.
over IP, yep.
Yeah, so there is no such thing as an internet company now.
Comcast.
Okay.
Comcast.
So fast forward 20 years into the future, there's going to be no such thing as a crypto company because crypto is going to be pervasive, just like the internet is pervasive, right? Most transactions are probably going to be distributed ledger based. I don't know about blockchain, but distributed ledger. With that being the case, if Goldman were to have these patents, instead of Reggie Middleton and Veritasium, they would do exactly as I did before. As I said before, they would cherry pick the talent and the technology that they want, and then they'll force everything else out of business. And they can force out of business legally with a patent simply by saying you can't do business here.
We're gonna have to wrap this up as other people come. But like, okay, so my view is this, and this is gonna be an interesting.
Look at the
thing.
camera so the kid.
So I am very skeptical how you're going to be able to enforce this patent.
Mm-hmm.
And if Goldman Sachs had it, I'm a little skeptical how they would be able to enforce it.
Where's the
Now,
skepticism come from? You can make it a shorter conversation.
a couple. So first of all, a lot of the people that are launching the sushi swap, the launcher of sushi swap, is an anonymous person.
Okay.
Good luck shutting him down. He doesn't give a shit if he's infringing on a patent. If he cared, he wouldn't have copied the code to begin with. Okay.
Okay.
So
hold on.
you're-
Take one step at a
Yeah.
time. So he didn't break the law by copying the code. They left it open source. They gave it to him.
Yeah.
He took it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's not. He didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And
Okay.
he exists, and someone knows
Right.
who he is, and he's making a lot of money.
So here, just to show you how that works, how do you get the sushi swap?
Well, I have no idea how to use that.
You go to a website, okay? I go and I say, this entity is infringing a patent, right? If he's really anonymous, he's not even going to challenge me. I'll get a default judgment, okay? And then I'll go to every single contributing infringer, someone who helps him infringe. I come with my order. So the website provider, are you helping him infringe? Either you end up getting in trouble, you pay me, or you tell me who he is, you shut the website down. The domain name server, same thing. On down the line until we whittle it down. Everybody who helps him infringe assists, is contributory infringement. It would be difficult to stop somebody who's not getting paid. If you're getting paid, the money leaves a trail everywhere. So don't think you're beyond the law, or else give Gary Gins the middle finger right now and see if it works. It doesn't. Okay? So that concept,
I don't know. Ripple's doing a decent job
they are
these
doing
days.
this job, but I'm very proud of what Ripple's doing. So I'm stop that. I'm not going to talk about. But here's a good example: the SEC, to show how powerful this is. Let's suppose that Ripple loses, okay, and Ripple has 100 million XRP on a chain that infringes on the patent. They lose, and so the SEC says, we're going to discard your assets. Send them in. If they send them in through the chain that infringes, who infringed on my patent? Who profited from that use of that chain?
The SEC, actually.
The SEC. That's right. They're taking us profit. If they profit,
following it right up until there. So close to agreeing with
so
it.
if the SEC gets to such disgorgement and profits, The profit is, I have to ask a lawyer, if it goes to the Treasury, there's a profit, then the SEC has infringed. Does the SEC know that I have patents?
I hope they do, because they've been involved in your work.
Well, the SEC said I was fraudulent in marketing patents pending as if I was going to get it, knowing I wouldn't get it. I'm not going to opine on the case of merit. That's beyond my safety zone.
So,
but
hold on, I'm just going to ask two
Oh,
questions.
he's asking
I'm just going to ask two questions.
Okay.
One, during your what have you with the SEC, did you inform them, and were they aware that part of your public material stated that you had patents pending?
Yes.
Okay, and those patents pending, were they recently granted?
Yes, and I will
And
say
we're
nothing
done.
more.
And we're done.
I will say nothing more on
That's
that.
it.
Okay. So
Then we're done.
I bring this up because if they took suppose they took $100 million worth of XRP, whatever that may be, okay, and they took it and they kept it, that is revenue to them. Okay, that's infringement, and I can charge, say, 10% of that revenue. But it goes beyond there. If they had previous knowledge, notice that there was a patent pending. Normally, I would put patent issued or patent pending as notice. But in my, again, layman's knowledge, I'm not a lawyer, there's this thing called constructive notice that they knew, even though I did not tell them specifically, which I may have. Constructive notice means that they knew there was patents pending. Alleging that these patents were fraudulent could be considered constructive notice, which means up to treble damages. So now, 3 times. There's an awful lot of money that can be taken that way. That's not just me. That is also any other disgorgement that they give. So not just me, but XRP, me, and anybody else they take. So that is the breadth and the depth of the patent. And yes, you can sue a government agency because they've raised their immunity to.
Well, they're market participants, and so
Right.
therefore waive their immunity.
Right, to intellectual property and patent infringement. But I'm just guessing because I'm not a lawyer. So okay, I'm going to sign off with these.
Let's wrap up.
Let's wrap up.
No, that's okay. So anyway, if you don't know, this is Reggie Middleton.
Are they like
He's
stuck
been
out there
awarded a
and
couple
they
of patents, and that's awesome. His patents cover such things as DeFi, options, swaps,
Conditional value transfer.
conditional
with
value
SNL
transfers, which would be, a
If-
different way of saying options contracts. Regardless, watch out for Reggie. And if you don't know who Reggie is, go and do a Google search on Veritasium and his options there. In the meantime, Smudge says that the interview's done. Thanks,
Okay,
everybody.
and one
Yeah.
thing, I do not intend to say anything negative or derogatory about the SEC. Okay.
I don't think you have yet.
And it didn't matter last time either, but and also everything I said is my opinion.
Everything that I've said should not be construed as legal advice or a legal opinion or anything else.